The brand new Season 2 of Warzone and Black Ops 7 has just arrived, and so we're going to go into the best settings possible to give you the best gaming performance into the brand new season. First, what you're going to want to go to is this cogwheel over here, which is your settings. You're going to make your way towards the gaming tab, and so your UI might look a little bit differently. So make sure you go to game mode. If you turn it on, it will optimize your PC for play by turning things off in the background. Make sure you set this setting to on. And so the next thing you're going to want to go to is called the graphics over here. And so if you're on Windows 11, it's going to look something like this. Make sure you press the drop down arrow. And so you're going to see a setting called hardware accelerated GPU scheduling. Now, some people will debate whether to have it on or off. Personally, in terms of Call of Duty, you're going to want to set this setting to on. This is a setting that a lot of Call of Duty players typically see as a performance boost for their gameplay. Dropping down further in this settings tab, you're going to also want to make sure that your game is set up as an app. If you do not see Call of Duty as one of the apps down below, you're going to want to make sure to press the add desktop app. Now, you're going to need to locate your game wherever you downloaded your game from your storage units. Mine was downloaded in my local disk of Samsung 9100 Pro SSD. So make sure that you have your game for best performance usage to be downloaded on your fastest storage drive, typically an SSD NVMe, so that you're able to get the fastest speeds possible. Make sure you're going to locate it where it is found. Once you've found it and you select the application, it'll look something like this. You're going to want to press the drop down arrow down over here, and you're going to want to make sure your GPU preference is set to high performance. This is going to enable you to have the best performance possible from your GPU so that you're able to get the game to get maximized its performance as possible. And you will also want to make sure that your optimizations for Windows games is set to on. Next, you're going to want to right click on your mouse, press show more options, and press NVIDIA control panel, just like this. Now, I'm not going to really go over a whole lot of settings on the manage 3D settings for your NVIDIA control panel. You can just go ahead and copy and paste and pause the video. You can go ahead and press apply. And if your screen flickers, don't worry, this is a normal thing for PCs. You're good to go from this tab. You're going to want to make sure to go to configure surround physics. Now, the only thing you're going to want to change in here for your processor is that if you have a higher end GPU, I would recommend making sure that it's not set to auto select. I would not recommend sending it to CPU unless if you have a very, very high end CPU that has multi-thread cores and that is able to handle very hard, difficult, rigorous tasks. Some people will not use the refresh rate that is set up for their monitor. I cannot tell you how many times people have set up to where they have their monitor set to 60 hertz, and that is going to hurt you a lot in the end. So if you're one of those people who have higher than a 60 hertz, please make sure you set it to the highest refresh rate that is available to your monitor. Mine, for example, is 480 hertz, and make sure that you set it up to the resolution that is set up for your monitor. For this case, for me, make sure you select the native version, which for me would be the 2560 by 1440p. Next thing you're going to want to do is make sure to launch up your game. And once you have your game launched up, make sure you go to the Warzone section of Call of Duty. You're going to go to the settings tab over here, and make sure you press on graphics settings. And so the settings that I would prefer as far as when it comes to integration of your game, make sure you set your display mode either to full screen exclusive or set up to full screen borderless. If you are someone who is just using one monitor for your PC, then I would say full screen exclusive is going to typically give you the best optimization possible, but borderless is not too far off. If you are a multi-monitor gamer with one PC, then you're going to want to make sure you set it to full screen borderless. Your display adapter, this one's going to be set up for the graphics card. Make sure you have the graphics card selected. Typically, it's already selected at default. Your screen refresh rate, typically, this is usually best to have it set up to either auto or the highest refresh rate possible for your monitor. For display resolution, you're going to want to make sure to select the display resolution of your monitor itself. Aspect ratio, you're going to want to set this to automatic. For display gamma, you're going to want to select the 2.2. If you are on a higher resolution type of television, or if you're on a TV in general, you're going to want to select the 2.4 instead. Gamma brightness, this one is going to be kind of up to you. Personally, I believe that the 55 to 60 range is typically visibly appealing. Next, we're going to want to go to the NVIDIA Reflex Low Latency. I would recommend setting this on to on plus boost. Now, moving on down fourth, eco mode, set it to custom. VSync set to off. VSync menus off. For custom frame rate limit, I usually recommend to unlimited. But if you really want to set it to a certain cap, then then you can set this setting to on. And if you decide to set it to on, make sure you set it the custom frame rate to the frames that will match your monitor refresh rate. Reduce menu render resolution, set it to optimal. Pause game rendering set to off. Reduce quality when active set to off, and focus mode set to 0. Once you have these settings set up the way you want, make sure you press apply. That's going to be at the bottom of your screen. In the quality tab, this one is going to have some variation of different settings. Personally, I've liked the best with NVIDIA DLSS. And so we're gonna now press the drop-down menu, NVIDIA DLSS presets. Usually, if you are more of a higher end build, I would set it to either balanced or quality. If you are a little bit on a lower end type of PC, I would either set it to performance or ultra performance. So play around with those type of settings to see what gives you the best performance. For sharpness, I would recommend setting it to 50. For NVIDIA DLSS mode, set it to CNN. You could also turn on transformer mode for those who want to have it to more finer detail and reduce ghosting. But personally, CNN tends to be the most balanced performance, as well as also giving you best optimization settings. For NVIDIA DLSS frame generation, I typically recommend setting this to off. These frames are fake frames that are made by AI, and I don't personally recommend setting it to on. And this setting is only available to those who have an NVIDIA graphics card of the 40 series or higher. But personally, if you are wanting to focus more on the competitive scene of Call of Duty, you're going to want to set this to off. Now, this one is only for those typically who have an AMD card. The same concept applies for the NVIDIA DLSS frame generation. I would typically recommend having this setting set to off. Ray tracing reflection setting this to off. Ray tracing is absolutely not worth it because, as you can see from the side here, the impact of your PC, your CPU, and your GPU and VRAM is going to be used up so much to the point where literally, if you look at the bottom right over here, look how much of a difference it takes up when it comes to your performance. And it's just completely unnecessary for a game like Call of Duty. VRAM scale target, you're going to want to set it to 85 or between 85 and 70. Typically, VRAM of 85 has worked best for me. Now, for these settings, texture resolution set up to normal or texture filter anisotropic. You can set this one to high. It will not affect your frames. Depth of field set to off. This thing is a piece of garbage. It is absolutely horrible looking on your game. Detail quality set to low. You're not going to pay attention to the detail quality of the game anyways. Particle resolution low. Bullet impacts, you can set this to on or off. It's based on preference. Persistent effects set to off. Shader quality set up to medium. On-demand texture streaming set to minimal. Your allocated texture cache size set to 16 on the drop-down menu. And download set to off. Your local texture streaming quality, you can set it to default or low, but usually people have it set to low. In-game video quality, set it to low. The rest of these settings, your shadow quality, screen space shadows, everything else in between that you see from the shadow and lighting tab, set everything to very low or off, the lowest settings possible. These settings are completely unnecessary. It's only just going to make just the environment look a little bit more pristine, but honestly, it draws up performance from your GPU and CPU, and it just doesn't do any justice from the game. Make sure you apply the settings after you have completed them, and then you're going to move on to the View tab. Once you have this section prepared, you're going to want to make sure to set your field of view to 120. Some people like to have it a little bit less than 120, usually around 110, maybe 100 at the lowest. ADS field of view, I would recommend setting it to affected. Your weapon field of view set up to wide. Your third person field of view at 90. Vehicle field of view at wide. World motion blur off. This thing will just cause you to have headaches, and especially for those who get motion sickness, this is going to be terrible for you. First and third person camera movement, set it to at least 50%. Third person ADS transition to third person ADS. Inverted flashbang, if you have it set it to on, instead of it flashing bright white color on your screen, where it gets super bright and can hurt your eyes sometimes, then make sure to set it to on. Parachute camera perspective, I have this setting set up to first person, and then you're done from the View tab. After you go to the Interface tab, make sure to go to FPS counter to on, as well as server latency on. If you want to see the packet loss happening in the game, your GPU temps, processor time, and everything that you have available, you can set it on as needed. Once you are done from this tab, one thing I would also recommend before you launch into a game is press the graphics tab once again. You're going to want to scroll down to where it says the restart shaders preloading. Press this so that you are able to integrate your settings for your brand new graphics settings update, and then make sure that you go to quick desktop, press yes, and then make sure to relaunch your game again. Once you relaunch your game, you're going to see at the very top left of your screen that says shaders preloading. Make sure you wait until that part of the menu disappears so that your brand new settings that you have set up for the game is fully optimized. What do you look forward to in the brand new season 2 of Warzone and Black Ops 7? I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.